I'm never ready.
Too bad we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to 360 Marketing Live, Episode 5, The Marketer Strike Back. I'm Mike Alton, the designated host today because I have the fewest followers on Snapchat. And I'm joined by Jen Herman and Amanda Robinson. Stephanie Liu is still training in Florida to be a ninja, I think. But in her place, we have the redoubtable Rebekah Radice. Welcome, ladies.
Oh, thanks. Hey, buddy. We love that we left Mike in charge.
You're going to regret that in a moment, because today we're talking about how to succeed at digital marketing without knowing everything. And before we get into it, I have actually a little bit of a video clip that illustrates the whole point. So let me cue that up for you.
Oh, no. I feel like this isn't going to go well.
Oh, it's going to go great. It's going to go great.
A little concerned, legit.
I don't think it's going to go well for me or Amanda. I don't know where this is going.
I don't know where this is going. That's why I'm a little worried. Wait for it. No way! Really? This is so embarrassing.
I knew this wasn't going to go well. Okay, so Mike is no longer in charge.
Wow. I guess it could be worse. Not much worse, but wow.
Oh my.
Goodness.
We're all gonna have macaroni stuck in our head now.
And there you have it. Now you see why I should not be trying to dance.
Wow.
Oh, Mike.
So,
Wow.
what are we talking about?
About how we're going to troll Mike back on this one.
Yeah, wow. I won't be leading any more videos. No, but seriously, there's a lot that goes into digital marketing. You got social media, you've got live video like this one, podcasting, you've got all these different tools, search engine marketing, email marketing, chatbots, AI, all these different things. Where do you even start? That's what we're talking about today. And I'm just going to throw that out to you guys. Where do you start? Where do you begin?
Well, I'm going to take that and lob that up there and say that's what 360 Marketing Squad is for.
Well done,
but
girl.
Since this video is brought to you by our 360 Marketing Squad, it is one of those things where, even us as experts in the industry know that we don't know everything. It's, we all have our niches and our spaces where we are, levels of expertise, and we know enough in all the other areas, but none of us can know everything. And that was why we brought 360 Marketing Squad together, was to bring together 4 people who would really cover 360 degrees of marketing, because Amanda is my go-to for all things ads. Mike is the go-to for strategy and blogging and content, and Stephanie's all about Facebook and groups and video and that sort of thing. So when you bring everyone together, it makes sure that you can cover all those bases. So if you're not part of 360 Marketing Squad, obviously, we would love to have you. It's 360marketingsquad.com, where you can find out more and sign up for a whole $5 a month, people. That's it. I mean, come on. You get all of us for $5. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. But moving beyond that, it is one of those things. I think it is really hard in general to, succeed on social media, because it's just always changing, right? Like, there's always, even us as experts in the industry are always like, oh my gosh, like, for me, Instagram released 3 new updates in a matter of like a week. Like, it's hard for us even in our own space to kind of keep up with that. And I think it really is making sure you find the right resources, whether it's Facebook groups, whether it's blogs, RSS feeds or Feedly or things like that, that make sure you're getting the latest information so that you're staying on top of it.
Absolutely. Rebekah, Amanda, you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, you bet. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jen. I think there's so much to wrangle these days that it can feel terribly overwhelming. And in my opinion, that's where really the planning and the research come in. So understanding where you should be spending your time, understanding where your audience is hanging out, understanding the type of content that they're looking for, and then what your strategy is going to look like between all of those different channels. Again, I think where we really run down a rabbit hole and get ourselves into trouble is when we think we need to be everywhere, we need to be doing everything, we're reading all the stuff, and everybody's screaming at us, well, you should be over here, you should be doing this, you should be, whatever that new shiny object is, instead of getting really strategic around, okay, this is how I'm going to utilize blogging, this is how I'm going to utilize video, and knowing exactly how that's working within your business, how it's supporting your business, and then really tracking and measuring those results. Because that's another area I see we get a little off track too. It is that shiny object syndrome where what's the latest and greatest? We all of a sudden, we're bored with blogging, so we move on to the next thing, and we never give anything enough time to really turn into results. So I think that's where that planning, that research, that understanding comes from, so that we create that baseline, and we're not just chasing that next best thing.
Awesome. Amanda, do you want to weigh in?
Yes, it just froze up there for a second, but just everything that Rebekah was saying, like, yes, analytics, yes, understanding this, yes, giving it enough time to be able to actually get results. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed it. And my advice, really, when it comes to people starting out, there's overwhelm. We, like us as industry experts, are already overwhelmed. You as a marketer or as a small business owner or as a big brand business, it's so easy to get overwhelmed. So that's where I always kind of default back to this advice: walk before you run. You don't have to be everywhere all at once. You don't have to be an absolute ninja at everything all at once. And definitely I recommend outsourcing. Outsource what you are not good at. You can't be good at everything in this business, in this industry. Realizing that, I'm never on Twitter. # not on Twitter. I need to be. I need to get over there. I'm not a complete ninja when it comes to Instagram. Jen is. I am very, very efficient in certain areas. I am really terrible in other areas. But educating yourself and having an awareness of what needs to be done helps you understand how you can outsource that, or how you can break it down and where you need to put that focus. So you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to do it yourself. But keeping up with the trends and keeping up with understanding why you need to be on a certain platform doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the work yourself, but keeping up with that information so that you know where to allocate your time as you gain more bandwidth. I'd like to use that word when it comes to people doing their own digital marketing. You only have so much bandwidth in a day. If you're not a professional marketer and marketing is only a small portion of your job, I don't expect you to be doing your Google AdWords and doing your blogging and also doing your Facebook ads and doing your entire Instagram strategy. It's unreasonable for you to think that you can do that. And when you look at your competition and they are already doing that, they probably have a lot of resources that they're tapping into, or they've been doing it for a certain period of time where they've been able to walk before they run, where they master a skill, they bake it into a process, they get really good at already having an understanding on how to do it and how to act and respond to it to be able to service their clientele or service their audience. Then they're layering on yet another component on top of that. So using Facebook and getting good at Facebook ads, then starting to branch into Instagram and Instagram ads, then branching into Twitter, or whatever order you do it in. They're not doing it all at once. So don't be comparing yourself to anybody else but yourself, and really break it down into feasible goals for yourself. You can't be everywhere all at once in 1 year. So, and if you need to be, for whatever reason, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost money for outsourcing, or it's going to cost you money for getting professionals onto the job that can help get you there faster. So I just take the pressure off of yourself. You don't have to be hard on yourself. And if you really do need to get up to speed very quickly, then arm yourself with the information, and then being able to start to prioritize, as everybody else here has been saying, prioritize it in a way that you can actually give yourself enough runway to start getting results in one area before trying to get results in all areas. And rant.
Oh my gosh, there was so much we could unpack in there.
Right? I was like,
oh, yeah, I know. I'm like, yes. Yeah, and I think there's a misconception too within digital marketing, and especially as entrepreneurs, which is we do have to know everything. Yeah. We have to understand everything. We have to wear all the hats, and it's hard. It's hard to let go, and it's also hard to find those people like you're talking about. I always ask clients, do you have more time or do you have more money? Because if you're in the beginning stages of your business, you've probably got the time and you're not going to have the money to be able to hire somebody. So, okay, then maybe you are at that stage where you have a little bit more time where you can learn things. But most people are growing a business. And to your point, you need to stay laser focused on your money-making activities and whatever those look like for you. And so that means surrounding yourself with people that do other things really, really well and quite a bit better than we do in certain areas. I love your examples because I am the same exact way. We have to understand what our weaknesses are so we can bring those people in that can take us from 1 to 100, can really duplicate what we're doing, but also move us far beyond where we ever would have gotten on our own. So I think there is a little bit of a mindset shift too, don't you think, where we've got to let go of trying to manage it all.
Oh, and I think that's the hardest thing, like I said, especially for entrepreneurs, because most of the time, as most of us know, we've built that business as the entrepreneur. You've done everything. You've done the bookkeeping, the purchasing, the sales, the marketing, the branding, the sleepless nights trying to do it all. And you don't want to pass that off to somebody else, no matter what that is. Sometimes it's even hard just to find a bookkeeper to manage your finances for you in your business because you're like, but I've been doing it and I know and I have a system and it works for me. But you have to spread out that time, and the marketing can fall into that. And kind of to, what Amanda was saying with outsourcing it, I agree 100%. But I also feel like you need to educate yourself before you outsource, because it's so easy. And I think all of us have seen the clients that have come to us and been like, well, I hired this person to do X, whether it's, running their ads, whether it's doing their content strategy, whether it's doing, their Twitter account, whatever it is. And they told me they were doing all these great things, but because the customer didn't know what that person was doing, they purchased followers or they purchased engagement. Or they were spending all this money on ads and getting horrible ROI, but the customer didn't know that was horrible ROI. They're going, well, we got a sale, so great, they worked, not realizing they should have gotten 10 times as many sales. So it's great to be able to outsource it, but you still want to make sure either ask for referrals from people who are currently outsourcing for those things, or reach out to somebody in the industry that that can say, like I have clients come to me all the time and say, I need help with Facebook ads. I go, nope. I am not your girl, but I know the girl who can help you. And I will refer people for a variety of things. I also don't do account management. I do strategy consultation, but I won't manage your account. So I can send you referrals, but they've come to me, somebody they trust, and I'm going to give them somebody I trust. So you're not getting into these situations where you're Googling something and go, oh, here's this person who says they do Facebook ads and they sound great, but you know nothing about them. So you do want to educate yourself on the general practices of these things, and you want to research who you're outsourcing things to. And that's, whether this is, again, a CPA, are you going to hire your, nephew who's in college to do your CPA level work when you have a multi-million-dollar business? Probably not. So why would you hire your nephew who has no experience in marketing to manage your marketing for a multi-million-dollar company? And it's that kind of mentality when you're going to outsource. You really need to do the research and find the right people to fill those spots for you.
So let me ask you, let's suppose for a moment that you're starting a new business or you're working with somebody who's starting a brand new business. What would step one be in each of your opinions? And Amanda, let's start with you.
It's a great question because I'm somewhat going through all of this all over again right now with my rebrand. So I'm rebranding and I'm starting from the ground up. There were a lot of questions I had to ask myself, especially in the rebrand. Do I continue on with my old assets and just swap out names? Do I start fresh? And I've kind of chosen to go the start fresh route. From getting a brand new website, starting up a brand new Facebook page, and sort of getting an order of operations going within that. So when you're first starting a brand new business, step one, making sure that you are securing all of your social handles, even if you're not going to be using those platforms right away, making sure that the names that you're choosing to run forward with before you, I've had a client that created a whole brand and, bought their website, got a Facebook page up and running, and it turned out that there was an issue with that name being copyrighted, or a competitor had some issue with that. And they had already invested a lot of money and a lot of dollars into building up the site, building up the logos, building up the branding, and they had to throw the brakes on, tear it all down, and rebuild from scratch, which was very frustrating, very annoying for everybody. So I would suggest making sure you're locking down all of your social media handles and creating all of those accounts right across the board, everything from YouTube to Pinterest to Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, anything I'm missing. There's tons I'm missing. There's a ton out there. But making sure that you're establishing and creating those profiles so that you've got them locked down, you own them, and somebody can't come in and scoop them out from underneath you just as you start to get yourself rolling. But you don't need to be active on all of them. You can have a little bit of information, but what I really do want you to focus on is what I kind of call the housekeeping items, which is going into once you secure all of those platforms, I want you to go in and edit the about section, edit the descriptions, making sure you have the right email address pointing to the right place, making
Did we lose her?
Making sure that the whole structure went, did I break up again?
You're good.
Sorry, guys. #internet problems. Just making sure that you're going in and doing the housekeeping on all of them so that when somebody hits that profile, even if you're not actively on it, that it's pointing you to the right website or to the right phone number or the right email address. And it's giving people, as they land on it, you're making a first impression. Whether that's the channel you're using or not, it's still a first impression. So making sure it's giving the right impression. And then you can park it. You don't have to do anything with it right away. Then you can go and focus on other parts of your business. So for me personally, it has been getting the website, getting the website rolling, getting my Facebook page up and running, securing all of the other social media handles, getting my branding, the logo, the images, the color, the look, the feel, the voice, getting that going, and then scheduling content, which is where I'm at right now. So getting content pumped into a content system so that I'm not just having this big attention. Once you get people's attention span, you can lose it just like that. So once you earn their attention, you need to keep it. So that's where it comes to making sure that you are active. Pick a platform and stick with it. So if your platform is Instagram, pick a platform, stick with it, get content rolling for that, and make sure that you're not overloading or inundating yourself with trying to keep up with the actual building of your brand or the building of all of these other things that you have to do in the back end and letting it drop. So if you are posting on Instagram on a regular basis, but then you get so busy in your business and you're so overwhelmed that you stop posting for a week, that's going to impact you, and it's going to impact all that momentum that you're building up. So that's a problem. So just as you're starting out, like I said, go ahead and secure all of your handles, secure all of your platforms, make sure all the information on them is current and correct, and then pick one and start being consistent on that one, and then layer on all the rest as you go.
Okay, that was one massive step one. All right. Rebekah.
Okay, so that's like month one.
Tell her where she's wrong.
Well, so I was going to say, I agree with everything she's saying and like getting everything set up. And so my kind of first step advice is kind of a two-part, because of course, I can't make anything simple. But
it's not like my 20-part.
So you need to know your why on social media, and then two or B, you need to set realistic goals for that why. So your why when you get started is, are you looking for brand awareness? Meaning maybe you're a startup and nobody knows anything about you. So you're not looking to get sales immediately from your social media. Your whole goal is to get brand awareness. So people learn about you, your name, your company, your product, your service, and that's the purpose. You may be a well-established brand and you're just really kind of starting off a social media process where now you're like, okay, we've got the brand awareness, but we want to focus on sales. It may be something where you want to attract, whether it's, employees, like maybe you're doing it for more of an HR kind of component where you want to attract people to apply to your company or as you grow. And so there's different reasons why you're using social media. And you need to define that why. Because once you have that, then you can start going in and setting realistic goals. Meaning, if your goal was brand awareness, okay, do you want to have, X number of, followers? Not that the follower has to be a vanity metric that you focus on, but that can set certain levels of expectations. Meaning, if you're a multi-million-dollar company, or you're, maybe making tens of thousands of dollars, you can't expect to have 1 million followers on a $10,000 a year business. And so you have to set kind of those realistic expectations for where you want to grow. And even with sales, if you're going to be looking to do, even if it's like Facebook ads or even Twitter ads or anything like that, what are you looking to do for sales generation? Are you looking to get 20% more in sales? Are you looking to get a dollar figure? You want to get $25,000 more in sales this year. But they have to be realistic, and you have to realize that that's going to take time. Again, as a first step, you can't come in there and be like, oh, well, I just launched Facebook, and by the end of the year, I'm going to do $1 million in sales because of Facebook. Like, unless you have a really high-priced product with a really great brand, you're probably not going to get that kind of revenue. So setting the why and then the realistic expectations to achieve that would be my kind of first step.
Great. Rebekah, do you have anything to add to that?
I'll just tag to everything that you guys just said, which is understanding the problem and the solution. So what is the real problem that your audience is struggling with? What is it that they're researching? So when they're Googling or they're asking Siri, what is it that they are actively searching out your product or your service or your business for? And then understanding how you're going to tie that problem into your unique solution. And that's where you guys are talking about really understanding your audience and creating content for them. And that, I think, is one area where we can leapfrog because we get so excited about, I've set up my business, I've gone out there, I've created a website.
We're amazing. Guilty. Guilty.
It happens to all of us. And your point was so great about running out and creating a business without even doing marketplace analysis and understanding if there's a purpose for your business or if there's a hole within the marketplace that your business can actually fill. So it's understanding that key piece, and then what is the actual problem that you are solving on behalf of your audience? Because once you figure those things out, content creation becomes infinitely easier because all of a sudden you're figuring out, okay, so their problem is, and you can list out maybe what their 3 to 5 different challenges are, and then you're creating content that directly aligns with that. And that's where I think we can get caught up in, well, what do I post? How do I post? Where do I post? And really, if you do the homework, the pre-work, which can be the not so sexy fun work.
True. Very
unfortunately, really the data is going to tell you. Your audience is out there actively raising their hand saying, here's what I want, and this is exactly what I want from you, and all you have to do is listen.
I'm going through that exact thing, what you're saying, like this is the laying the groundwork is not the sexy part, the planning, figuring out how to solve that, how to answer that question. How do you solve that problem? I'm going through the exact same thing right now with the 2019 planning. So I have giant Post-it notes stuck all around the walls here, and I have I have Sharpies everywhere, and as soon as I come up with an idea, or if somebody asks me a question, or if I'm answering something in one of the marketing groups or in 360 Marketing Squad, for example, it sparks me to say, oh, that was a problem that somebody had. I have a solution. I'm going to go and write that on my planning board, and that's a piece of content that I can create around that to help answer that for many people, not just the one person that I responded to. So that whole process is really not sexy. it is a little time consuming doing that big brain dump and that brainstorming and taking the time to do that planning. It's not fun. Trust me.
It's not, but I'll tell you, there are some terrific tools out there like SEMrush, BuzzSumo. I use all day long that give you very specific questions. So for example, if your clients are looking for somebody to help them create Facebook ads, you could go in and you could just type a keyword like Facebook ads, and it's going to give you a list of hundreds of different blogs that have been very popular around that topic. So there are ways to get to the bottom of what type of content your audience is actually looking for if you haven't been creating your own content. So even if you're struggling, if you're in it, you're not feeling very creative, you're frustrated with just really, where am I going to get this insight? How am I going to understand what my audience is looking for? Just go to the web. You don't even have to pay for tools. You can Google.
I know Stephanie's always
available.
Because when Stephanie talks about Facebook Live video, she always, tells people, because people are like, well, what am I supposed to go live about? And one of the things she says is, what are the 10 questions people always ask you? And what are the 10 questions you wish people would ask you? There, 20 videos, done.
There you go.
It's just figuring out, like you said, what do they need? What are they asking? And a lot of times you may not realize you're getting asked these questions all the time. Like Amanda said, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's somebody emailing you, whether it's somebody sending you a DM on social media. And a lot of the times, the questions that we even get asked in a Facebook group are things that we can Google the answers and have the answer in 36 seconds. It's like, really? Like, they're not hard answers to find answers to, but people want the expertise answer. They don't want to Google it and filter through a whole bunch of random information. So if you are the expert in your field, you can create that for them, and you're answering that solution in a way that's valuable to them. That's what they want.
Yeah. And that's an excellent point.
The key point that you made there when you said, they could just Google it. And that's, half the time when we are answering these questions, we are Googling it as well. And I'd say part of that time when I'm Googling, it's just to double check what I already know, just to make sure that what I already think I know, to make sure it's still current. But when it comes to actually vetting the quality of that information, it does help getting that expert advice. And this is where I'm going to wrap it back into the 360 marketing squad. Yes, you can Google a lot of these things yourself, and you're going to get a bazillion blogs. You're going to get information overload. What is current? What is accurate? And what is actually working? Because there are multiple different opinions on what works and what doesn't. And that's where, even though we can Google an answer and we can come up with it in 30 seconds, it would have taken you an hour of digging to get through all the fake news, or get through all of the hype, or get through all of the top ranking articles that are padded with a whole bunch of affiliate links to get down to the answer you're looking for. So that's where
and
something like
time relevancy too. Because let's say someone one of the most random questions that you always get is, what's the right size for a Facebook cover photo dimension? Like, it's something like that, right? But it's like, okay, well, literally 6 months ago, it was a different dimension. So if you happen to Google it and you see an article and it says the dimensions are 832 by 436 or whatever it is, but that might be from 2016. So you're just going to look at that and go, oh, there's the answer, not realizing that now it's actually like a whole 2 pixels different, because they have to just make our life complicated and change things by the smallest amount. And that's a thing where, having somebody you can turn to, and we obviously provide that in our space, but even you guys, who are watching this in whatever industry you're in, you are that expert to your audience in whatever capacity. So when you're creating that content and being that resource, they're coming to you for those same things. So we've been hogging the conversation, and Mike's sitting here nodding his head. So he has to say something on this topic too.
I don't know. After he pulled that macro reindeer stuff at the beginning, if you're just tuning in now and you didn't catch the beginning of this broadcast, you're definitely going to want to go back and rewatch that. Actually, on second thought, don't.
Critical information. No, this is great. And because I was thinking, particularly while you were talking, Rebekah, that I couldn't agree more, that often businesses, they rush to do the fun stuff, and they try to skip past the boring homework, and they don't realize that boring homework is going to save them so much time and trouble and energy and money down the road. I can personally attest to having wasted years doing things, spinning wheels, that I didn't need to do had I done some homework up front. So Super, super critical point. And the other cool thing that I love is that's what's happening here. And this is, again, what we bring with the 360 Marketing Squad is these different opinions and perspectives, right? When somebody pops into our group and they ask a question, they get all four of us chiming in, and we usually agree, but we usually have different experiences, and sometimes we don't always agree or have the exact same perspective or philosophy. So that's a super critical point that I think needs to be reminded. So what's next? What other kinds of things should people be thinking about? Are there particular social networks that they should absolutely start on? Is there a particular tool that they absolutely have to have and they should be working towards bringing that in within the first, say 3 months, 6 months? Where do you go from there once you've done some of these first things we've talked about? And Amanda is raising her hand. I love that polite Canadian coming out. That's awesome.
Sorry.
There it is again.
When you're looking at, what platforms or what tools or where do you start, I feel very strongly that if you are not already involved in Facebook groups that are your niche or that are really highly pertain to your industry or as an information source, it's time to start getting involved in Facebook groups. Go and seek out your tribe, go and join these Facebook groups, make sure that you are staying active in those Facebook groups, asking questions and responding and commenting on other people's posts as well, because that will warm up the algorithm and keep those posts surfacing up in your newsfeed on a more regular basis. But groups have become, I'd say in the last year, groups have really, really become such a valuable resource on Facebook. And with all of the updates and all of the new features that have been released in groups, it really is, they are building it into a fantastic place as a community for people to gather, get information, give information. And I really feel it's so valuable because you can sort of weed through all of the noise on Facebook and on social channels and connect with real individuals who can help you and who you can also help. You can build actual real relationships. And let's be honest, people, that's where it all happens. It's the relationships. And that's how you excel your business. You build fantastic relationships with people who are willing to give you either their time, their knowledge, or just by virtue of being surrounded by these people, you're able to absorb it as a fly on the wall, pick up information, and really get yourself ahead that way. Find the people that you know, like, and trust, and stick with that tribe and participate with that tribe. I feel like Facebook groups is something that if you're, as a business owner, if you're not involved in them, in being able to stay current in your industry or stay current with information or current with trends or even current with networking with people, then I think that you're missing a big piece of the puzzle right now.
Well, and I couldn't agree more. And I that last word you said there with networking, I think that's the key. So often we can get behind our computers and forget that you cannot start a company without starting conversations, and you cannot market your business online if you're unwilling to put yourself out there into those networks, those places where people are spending their time and they're hanging out. And networking is a lost art, I think. I think it's something that, we have forgotten over the years because we no longer have to get face-to-face to be able to network with people. And so many people lurk, which is okay. You can be a lurker and come in and learn, but you really are doing yourself a disservice if you're not getting yourself out there actively in the same locations over and over and over and just building rapport. So it's not the days of spamming the groups and coming in and trying to throw your link into the group. It's coming in and answering questions. I know you laugh because we've seen it for so many years. But it's coming in and being a valuable resource and giving.
And to your point, Rebekah, it's not, what groups used to be. They used to be sort of little spam cesspools. But they really aren't anymore. No. I mean, the people who are acting that way get booted out fairly immediately, or people are more quick to call them out. So the quality, I feel like the quality of groups has really improved over time. And I really feel like, to everything you were saying, by people networking, getting involved, it's such a key component that I think a lot of digital marketers, a lot of us don't really talk about in our marketing mix in what we're explaining. I mean, that's something that I have started to recommend to clients, depending on what niche they're in, to say, what Facebook groups are you a part of? and how are you participating in those Facebook groups? Because there's so much valuable information that they can have access to. But like I use the example of real estate all the time. A lot of the real estate agents that I've worked with are members of real estate related groups, and they all talk amongst themselves. It's a small town, but that's where a huge amount of networking and a huge amount of referrals come from. So it's not necessarily a realtor going into a social media group to learn how to do social media. It's a realtor going into another realtor group where you're surrounded by your tribe, where you can share information and learn, ask, and grow. And it's so valuable right now.
Well, and it all leads to keeping you top of mind. You're maintaining that awareness around your brand, and then you're building credibility as you're answering questions, as you're responding to people. You're showing up on a consistent basis. People feel as if they've got that know, like, and trust factor that you talked so much about. So you're really building a rapport. You're building almost a wall around your business where so many people, we talk about the peaks and valleys where you're doing so well and then you're down in the weeds of your business and all of a sudden you're off track and what's going on. Whereas if you add this layer of networking in, you really even yourself out so that you are consistently maintaining that communication, that feedback loop with people. So many different ways that you can use these Facebook groups or communities, period, across different social networks. I know we're talking a lot about Facebook. It certainly doesn't have to all be Facebook. But I do agree that Facebook communities have evolved in a really beautiful way, they just were not that at all several years ago.
Can I just add in something that I see frequently that I think you can improve on right away? Not you as in us. you as in the marketer that's watching this, or as the individual who is participating in these groups. Make sure that you are adding on to your own personal profile any type of marker or way for people to actually find you, whether that's putting on all the time. I'm so sorry. I know.
At least it's not a terrible freeze. Like,
yeah, right.
That's usually mine.
It's like a graceful freeze.
That would be so much worse.
When you're interacting and engaging with people, you're in groups. You're engaging as your own personal profile. Well, I mean, you can as a page now, but that's new. I don't recommend it. So you're engaging with people as your personal profile, and if people want to find out more about you, they're going to click on your profile and they're going to creep you. That's a fancy way of saying they're just going to scope you out. They're going to check out your profile and try to learn more about you. Make sure that you have your current workplace or the pages that you manage or your business name associated in the About You section. Make sure you fill out that information so that when people go and look at your personal page, they can actually find you. Gone are the days of people creating these sort of these ghost profiles that is like, this is my business persona. This is my real persona. And this is the person this is what I use for connecting with family and friends and sharing photos of my kids. Yes, you can still keep that private, but there's still a certain amount of public-facing information on your profile. And make sure when you're engaging with these groups that public-facing information is representing you well enough so that people can actually find your business, so people can actually find what you do or actually find out more about you in a way that you want publicly represented. I think that people tend to neglect their own personal profiles and the information that is public facing on your own personal profile. And I think that can get you pretty far, especially when we're saying go and network in these groups. Make sure that people have a way of connecting and finding you when they are checking you out behind the scenes.
Yeah, don't make people hunt and peck, to try to find you and wonder, is this the same person, that this is the same person? And it goes back to what you were talking about with the branding too, and being consistent. So what is that headshot you're using, your logo? What is the description? So you're about all of those different social profiles or online presence. So where can they connect with you? People they want to figure out who you are and what you're all about before they're actually going to reach out to you. And if they struggle to find an about or a contact or be able to connect with you, well, what's going to happen? They're going to give up. At least I would pretty quickly and move on to the competition.
It's like an abandoned cart, only like abandoned person.
Exactly.
Abandoned ship.
That's exactly right. That's funny. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but that's exactly what it is.
All right. So my tip is kind of like, I agree 100% with every thing you guys are, saying about the networking and the groups and building the community and everything. In terms of, what do you need to do? And kind of, for me, it's like setting almost like a foundation of practices. So if you are starting out and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to use Facebook. But if in reality, over the next year or two, you plan on using Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, your capacity to manage those will also have to change. So right now you might be able to manage Facebook organically, where you can just log into Facebook, into your page or into your group and post some things and be done with it. But when you start adding in Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and all of these other things, now are you able to do all that organically? Or do you need a tool, like a dashboard management tool, something like, whether it's, an Agorapulse, or if you're doing Instagram, it could be like Planoly, or later you might be doing something, right, just a little Agorapulse drop right there. But if you're going to plan on using those types of tools, those have a learning curve as well. And if you've gotten used to doing Facebook organically, and then 6 months later you add Twitter, and you've got used to using Twitter organically, and now 6 months later you've added LinkedIn, you're not going to want to go back and learn a dashboard tool and have to integrate everything, because it's going to take time away from your money-making activities for you to stop and learn how to use these tools, or how to integrate them, or how to use all their features. So if you have that anticipation of growth and expansion, it's better to set the foundation early. So say, okay, I can get one of these dashboard tools, get in like a low price, or get the freemium option to get started and get familiar with that platform. And as you grow, you can add to that plan to manage your additional accounts or functions that you're going to need on those. The same thing goes for whether you're going to use MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact or any of those types of tools. If you're going to do email marketing, getting those systems in place early when you have the time, like Rebekah said, do you have time or do you have money? Early on, you have the time to learn these tools and build those foundations so that 6 months, a year down the road, when your email list gets to be 5,000 people, you're not all of a sudden going, well, I have to figure out how to manage this. Yeah. And then at that point, you're struggling and you're rushing and you make mistakes and you buy things you may not need, or you don't understand all the features that you could be using to your advantage. So I'm all about getting used to things early when you have the time, and that way it becomes routine, normal, and as you grow and expand, it's a natural growth progression. It's not a whole new learning curve, whether it's, like I said, 6 months or a year down the road.
I often share the story. When I first started blogging, I was publishing 2 or 3 times a day. That was 6 to 14 blog posts a week.
That's insane.
Well,
right?
You are a beast.
It's so easy when you don't have clients or work to do.
Well,
You've got all kinds of time to publish. That's no problem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So to your point, setting realistic expectations of, is that sustainable? Is that something you're going to be able to keep up down the road? And yeah, it's great to be in the trenches and be able to learn, but part of that is making sure that you are creating that system, creating that process, and then documenting that. So when you do hand it over to somebody else, there's not this huge onboarding either where it feels so heavy because you have it all up here,
yeah,
but you don't have it anywhere else. So I think that's a critical piece too, is as you are learning, as you are figuring out what are these systems and tools and processes that you're going to put into place, take that extra step and write it down. Take that extra step and just document. Here's exactly how, from beginning to end. Again, another not sexy aspect.
Yes. But these are not the fun things.
I love that you're saying this, because this is what I'm going through right now with the full rebrand that I'm doing. I'm actually in the background, I'm recording from zero to where I'm at. I'm recording in the background all the steps from registering a domain to transferring the domain over to getting my website up and running, to all of the little steps. The decision I had to make on, do I use my existing page? Do I create a new page? All of those questions that I had to ask myself. I'm recording all of that so that I can start to release this as I go, as sort of a blueprint on, are you going to rebrand? Here are the questions, or here are the questions on week 1. Here are your questions on month 1. Here are your questions on, it's an experience that, I've helped many clients who already have established businesses. I've I've worked with businesses who have merged two businesses together and had to sort of rebrand the two businesses, but to go from sort of a complete pivot and fresh rebrand, this is my first time going through it. So I'm documenting exactly like you said, Rebekah, taking the unsexy time to go ahead and document everything so that it's creating a blueprint that I can then hand over to somebody in the future or use myself to say, I have experience with this, I can help you.
So
and I have a blueprint.
Well, and that's exactly it. Everything you're going through. So everything we've ever gone through within our businesses becomes a possible product, becomes something that solves somebody else's problem.
And I'm a digital marketer. I do this for a living. I know how to do this, and it still sucks. It's not fun. It's making me really appreciate the volume of knowledge that I have acquired over the years, but it's also making me really, really appreciate the standpoint of my clients and the people that I work with on all the other things they have going on in their mind and how they just need to get these tasks done. They don't have the time to invest in the why or, what are my options. They just want somebody to tell them, here's how we're going to do it. Here's how long it's going to take. Here's how much it's going to cost. And here's the result. I completely understand it now.
Yeah. You feel the pain.
Yes.
Mike, do you have any
I want to bring in
topic?
a question from Mitch who asks, let me bring it in. He says, what's a fair amount of time to allow before we see real traction? And how long should it take to recoup the spend when it comes to hiring someone to handle our social media?
Very good question. Mitch is one of our 360 members, so it's nice to see him tuning in. Hi, Mitch.
Well, Mike, why don't you take this one? You've been silently hanging out in the background.
I don't know.
You answer a question.
I don't know. Is he still in Mecha Reindeer Purgatory?
He's been banished.
Right.
Oh, gosh,
Do my little dance,
don't
make a reindeer.
No.
So my answer is going to come from the content perspective because that's obviously my expertise. So I usually tell people you need to wait at least 6 months to expect to see results out of the content that you're creating. And that's assuming you're publishing on a regular basis, like once a week minimum, because it takes about that long to begin to see the kind of traction we'd want to see, like from search engines, right? In fact, there was a study that HubSpot did a number of years ago where they looked at how many pieces of content a variety of corporations had in their archive, and at what point did they begin to see real exponential growth in terms of both Google search traffic and then resulting leads and sales. And the average was 50 pieces of content. So it took 50 blog posts or articles or FAQs or white papers or whatever the case that was being published to their site. It took 50 pieces of content for them to begin to see exponential returns or actual results. So if you're only blogging every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, it'll be years before you see results.
I would love to point out, Mitch is a very unique case. He just put it in the comments here. We publish 1,600 plus articles a month.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mitch, you are very unique.
Dang.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, but maybe you guys have some other perspectives from a social media take.
I mean, for me, because we get this question, I think, all the time, any of us that take on clients in this space that hire us, and they're like, well, when am I going to see results on this? Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of about the same thing with like the 6 months, especially if you're starting social media from, ground zero and building it up. And that still is dependent on multiple factors. How big is your existing brand awareness, and are people going to follow you right off the bat on social media? Or are you starting from, essentially nobody and trying to build that brand awareness? It's going to take you significantly longer than somebody who has a well-established brand. So there's that, as well as how much content you're creating. Again, and how many places are you? If you're only on Instagram, if you're targeting, 25 to 35-year-old females, Instagram's great for you. And you'll probably grow faster on Instagram than if you're targeting, males 45 to 55 and you're using LinkedIn. You're going to have a slower growth comparatively. It may be more valuable on LinkedIn because you may get more leads and more conversions and more networking opportunities than the people over here on Instagram in the same time period. But you will get more followers on Instagram. You may get more brand awareness. So you have to determine what that ROI is for you, because what do you want out of it? What is your end goal? And then how long is that going to take depends on so many factors. To his point about, when are you going to get the return on the investment of hiring somebody to either manage this for you or whether you outsource it? Again, that's dependent on your goal. So if your goal was to increase sales by 20% over a period of 2 years, well, if you hired somebody at $50,000 a year, so it cost you $100,000 to pay that person to do the work, but if a 20% increase in sales was $500,000, then you paid it off and then some. But you may not see that ROI right away. You may have hired this person and paid them for 2 years and paid them $100,000. You may have only increased sales by $50,000. So you're still out $50,000, but that work they did building that foundation for 2 years is going to pay dividends in year 3, year 4, year 5, as it becomes that growth is exponential, that no trust factor is exponential. I have people that reach out to me that I literally have never heard of. I've never seen their name on a comment, on a blog post, on social media. I've never seen them on a live video view ever. And they come to me and they've been like, oh, I've been watching you for 3 years and I just love you and I can't wait to work with you. And I'm like, who are you? Like, they've been lurking and I had no idea they were there, but that was time and commitment I put into building my brand and sharing content with them that now they're going to pay me thousands of dollars to work with me. But if I'd stopped doing this 2 years ago, I would never have got them as a client. So it's hard to put those valuations in a general terms of when you're going to get those returns. It really does come down to your specific goals and your specific investments into it in terms of when you're going to see that trade-off. But some people could see that trade-off in 3 months. Some people might not see it for 3 years. It's really dependent on so many factors.
So one point that I did want to make for managing expectations when you are outsourcing and you are bringing on either a new team member or a contractor, or you're involving somebody to help you with your business, something that I've had to learn the hard way, as a professional, I want to be able to step in and start getting you results right away. I say it's usually going to take roughly 3 months before you start to see any results out of the work that we are putting in together, because there's a lot of foundational work that has to go in. But what I have learned over time is that there really is a really important, crucial period of time initially where I need to learn your business, where I can't just apply everything that I think I know from all of the experience I have working with all of these other businesses. If I try and apply that exact same mentality or the same thought process to your business, you really need to know your audience. You need to know your customers. You need to know, you really have to get intimate with the details of the business and understand the ins and outs of the business before you can really start to see good success coming out of that working relationship. And that's something that I've had to learn to sort of bake in and roll in to my managing expectations conversations with clients right out of the gate, is knowing that we are probably not going to immediately click and have wonderful success right out of the gate. That's somewhat rare. But give me the time, talk to me, let's have these regular conversations and bring me along the journey of what you're dealing with on your day-to-day, what challenges you run into with your clients, what you're actually dealing with. And paint the full picture, not just what you think I need to know. Give me everything, because it all wraps in, it all impacts. Everything from if you are working with a web designer and you're making changes on the web, well, that's going to impact, when a URL changes and I've been running ads to that URL. There are certain things that get lost in translation. But then when it comes to targeting is so crucial. When you explain to me in a more in-depth way on how I can become more intimate with understanding your business, there's a huge amount of creativity. There's so many things I know that are possible to do with targeting, but I may not creatively think about it if I don't know that's what your customer base needs, or that's where they hang out, or that's, these are the content types that they consume, or these are the publications that they read. There's so much available for me to creatively help you target your audience. But if I'm only being fed small bits of information and it's being kept very close, it's going to take more time and more money and more energy on both of our parts to get you up to speed to where you want to be. So when we talk about how much time and how much expectation, when you start involving somebody, when you start outsourcing or subcontracting some of your social media, if you're just paying somebody to do posts and just in a mechanical way where they're loading up a queue of a month worth of posts and hitting, go, then that's what you're going to get back out of it. But if you really want to...
Let me just share, because Mitch commented, holy shit, something just clicked. Thank you. I don't know what clicked. I don't know what you said.
That's
but you made an impact.
A lot for Mitch in the group.
That's great.
I love that.
Rebekah, did you have anything you wanted to chime in on social?
No, I
Okay.
mean, I think you ladies really just pulled it all together with expectations, goals, and being 100% in alignment, because that is definitely an area where you move forward with somebody and you didn't do your due diligence. You didn't understand their role, how they assist. You didn't understand kind of their mission, their vision, their values, and it's not in alignment with your company. And that's where we can get off track as well, where expectations weren't properly set up front. Boy, that can create, I know we've all been there, done that, where yeah, you end up somewhere you don't want to be in a relationship with, a customer or a client that you just should have said no to. And it goes both ways. So it's really understanding what are your needs? What do you want to get out of this person and this relationship? So yeah, if you're just looking to pay somebody off of Fiverr a couple of bucks here or there to, create some content for you and throw it up into your social media tool of choice, that outcome is going to look exactly like that few bucks you spent and that small amount of time that you put into the thought process. So think through, what are you trying to get out of social media? What do you want to gain from it? Are you looking for just simply awareness, engagement? Are you looking to gain new clients? Are you looking to promote your product? Whatever the case might be, you need to understand that before you can translate that to that person that's going to be able to help you. And I think that's where the magic happens too, where you've got somebody that is crystal clear in why they want to use social media for their business. They're able to articulate that, and then you can say, you know what, I am the exact right person, or I'm not. I had a conversation just like that yesterday where I spoke with a college out in New York, and what they were looking for, I said, nope, not my area of expertise, but here's somebody who is brilliant in that area. So when we are clear on how we help, I think we do a whole lot better job too, also helping our clients understand and embrace what those expectations are going to look like.
Absolutely. So we're coming up to the end, to the top of the hour. And so before we say anything else, we're going to do a lightning round. And you guys have no idea what questions I'm going to ask. So this is going to be a total surprise, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Stephanie, when are you coming back?
I can't handle any more maca reindeer, please.
No. Okay. First question's an easy one. Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups? Jen.
Facebook groups.
Rebekah.
Facebook groups.
Amanda.
Facebook groups right now, but LinkedIn's doing some really cool things, and I think we're going to see them getting better very soon.
Okay,
I sure hope so,
because
because
review the rules for lightning round. Okay, we'll do that after the
LinkedIn
call.
groups were fantastic. Even just a few years ago, but devolved.
Yeah,
Coming back.
That was a question from Joey, who she just entered our. She just joined our 360 marketing squad. So thanks for that question, Joey. So. Question number 2. Oh, and by the way, Facebook groups, I chime into there as well. So question number 2, you have to pick one social network. Doesn't matter what the audience is or the size. You got to pick one to start with. Jen.
Facebook.
Rebekah.
Yeah, Facebook. It is still the big boy on the block.
Amanda.
Facebook. It's where the best ROI is right now.
100%.
I always
Facebook. Got to start there.
To avoid all the rules, I always tell people Facebook is today what the Yellow Pages was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You need a Facebook page regardless of who your target audience is, because people are going to go look for you on social media. And just like they used to go to a Yellow Pages, Google is really Yellow Pages, but Facebook is that kind of level of demand.
That's the second time today I've hit a reference that after the fact I thought, you know what, most people don't even know what that is. Because Rebekah, we were talking earlier today, and I said I was going to open my Rolodex for you. You knew what I meant. Most people today have no idea what that means.
Isn't that crazy? Crazy to think. Yeah.
Okay, so question number 3. One tool. What is your first tool for a new business? Jen.
Agorapulse.
Really? Okay. Rebekah?
Yeah, for me, it's Google. Everything Google for work, Google for business, because that's how you can build out all of your systems, processes, strategies. So easy to manage and share between Gmail, Docs, everything else. So it's a good starter
Cool. Amanda?
Do I get to give justification for mine, or do I just have to go with it?
We'll come back. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Amanda?
Google Analytics, hands down.
That's exactly what I was going to say is Google Analytics. So Jen, feel free to elaborate on Agorapulse.
So I was going to, because of the fact it's the whole inbox zero, right? It's the whole management of everything. It's the fact that you get your reports analytics in one place. It's the fact that you get all of your comment management all in one place. And most people, when they're starting out, don't understand how to manage everything within their Facebook page and then looking over at Twitter. So if you can put everything in one dashboard where you have it all in one consistent place, you're more likely to be responsive because you're not used to checking 9 different platforms all throughout the day.
And can we just quantify, if you were not using a tool like that and you had to go to each individual platform to moderate comments as well, so handle incoming as well as engage with outgoing, like engage other people, how many hours in a day do you think that takes reasonably for a single brand? I'd say a good 2 hours.
Couple,
in the day. And I know myself personally, the first hour I wake up is going through all my notifications and responding to people, reading things, going, is this important? Is this not important? My notifications, all of my social channels, sorry if I'm breaking up, my notifications on my social channels are the equivalent of going through my email inbox. I don't go through an email inbox anymore. I read all of my notifications. But not being able to streamline that, and again, this goes back to the walk before you run, learning how to handle the influx of conversational comments coming and going is a real skill for marketers, and having tools to help you do that is pretty important.
Well, and managing your time with that too, so that you're not getting sucked in, and also going in with a plan and a strategy, so that you know where you're spending your time, what's important as far as those notifications, using some type of a checklist, so you can say, I've got to do this and this and this and this, and I get in, I get on, I get out. Instead,
that's why I love like a dashboard tool, right? Because if I go into Instagram to go check my notifications, I'm going to spend an extra 15 minutes scrolling through my Instagram feed, and then I'll check my notifications. Then I'm going to go to my DMs, and I'm going to go back to my feed. But if you're in a dashboard tool, you're going to see your notifications, you're going to handle business, and then you move on. And I can just scroll through Instagram when I'm waiting in line at Starbucks and want to kill some time. But that way you're focused on work when you're focused on work, and you lose the rabbit hole effect.
Yeah, that's why Jen never favorites my posts, because she never sees them. She's never in the
That's because everything you put out there is a rabbit hole. It's like, oh yeah, I should do that. Oh yeah, I need to do that. Oh, I'm going to do, and down you go.
Okay, last question. You had one marketing technique to start with. What do you mean
by? What do you mean marketing technique?
Whatever you think.
Okay, I would say defining your brand voice. So as making sure that everything you do from a marketing perspective is in a specific tone of voice. That's how you speak in your blog, how you speak on your website, how you speak on social media, so that if somebody sees you online and they pick up the phone and call you, they essentially have the same person on the other end of the phone. We all see those people who come off online as a certain personality, and then you meet them in real life and you're like, WTF, that is not what I expected. So to have that brand voice that is 100% you, but that also sets you apart from everybody else. I think we try too hard to blend into the masses, and in doing so, we don't really attract anybody. But if you embrace who you are as your personality, in the way you talk, in the way whether it's those mannerisms, quirkiness, those sorts of things, that all ties into your brand. Why people will be attracted to you, and you'll get the right clients in your business.
Okay, Rebekah, you can tell which ones of us are from Canada and which ones of us are from the United States, and like to be a little quicker and briefer. We understand what lightning round means.
Is that how that works?
I'm just saying.
This is what happens when Mike manages the show.
True story.
Just saying. Okay, right, Rebekah, you're up.
Oh, sorry. Rebekah, go ahead.
Your favorite technique.
Build your personal platform. I get asked that question all the time. Do I build up my business? Do I build up my personal platform? My answer is yes. You do both. People are looking for you. They are wanting to get to know what makes you tick, what you think about, what you care about, what you're passionate about. And when you are creating that voice, you can only do it authentically if it's coming from you passionately doing what you love to do every single day, and then talking about that and making it real and relatable to your audience. So as you're building out your business and your brand, make sure that you're maintaining your personal profiles as well, especially when we talk about communities, because you can get out there and engage within communities as yourself. And that is such an unbelievably powerful tool. When you can pull people back over to, say, a Facebook profile that's exciting, that's engaged, that you're posting, that you're sharing, that you're talking, and talking with people, not at people. So you're sharing in, what you're learning and what you're doing every single day and your expertise. People are going to naturally gravitate towards that. They're going to want to learn more about you. They're going to want to learn more about your business. So use your personal brand to elevate your business.
Ooh.
And I realized Mike probably wanted us to say something like live video or blogging or tweeting. Like, he probably wanted these like one-word answers, and we're like, here's a whole theory.
We asked him to define it at first. He wouldn't define it, so that's up to us now.
My bad.
True. There is that.
I should have said, your one marketing technique in 3 words or less.
All right, so
Amanda, you're
ready
up.
for mine? All right. Ooh, I love this. Okay, so a marketing technique, it's fairly simple. Ask questions. Ask questions. A lot of marketers or a lot of people and business owners are putting out content that's talking about themselves. You're not asking people to engage, or you're just putting out content and expecting people to engage. Well, sometimes it's just as simple as just asking them to engage. Here's my thought. What do you think? This is what I'm doing. What are you doing? This is how I solve this problem. How do you solve it? Make it about them, not about you. And how do you make it about them? Simply ask a question.
Cool. My answer is write. Write every day. Write about yourself. Write about your business.
Right.
Not
Mike is
like
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Write with an R, write with a W. It doesn't matter.
That's such great advice for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but when I write, I'm working through things. So it helps me solve a problem, which possibly I have, that I know that my audience is going to have as well. So you're learning as you go. It also helps me form a hypothesis that I can actually solve. And it gives you kind of that timeline, too, of here's where I started, here's what I thought the problem was, but here's how I actually created that solution. So it just really helps in so many different ways, from the learning and the growth and that whole idea of sharing what we know and sharing that full solution so that people can really see our methodology and our thought process. And that, again, I think becomes that natural attractor where people are drawn to your voice. They're drawn to the way you teach or to the way you talk or whatever that case might be. But if you're not writing or creating in some way, people are really missing out that deeper connection with you.
So I need to take that advice because I'm not really doing it very well. And my version of writing, again, it's like walk before you run. So I'm at like the baby step stage of like, at least I have things set up so that I can write the ideas, get them out of my head before I'm like squirrel and attention span's gone and I forget it. So it's getting all of that knowledge out of my head and onto paper. That's what I'm working through right now.
Well, and I don't think it necessarily has to be writing. So I dictate a ton. You can dictate. You can use your note app. You can use whatever you want to get those ideas out of your head. But even just talking them out loud. So somebody was asking me, what's the difference, between, say, writing and a podcast for you? And I said, well, writing is kind of the foundation I start with, and then I work it out into a podcast. So where I'm hearing myself talk it out loud, there's a big difference, in my opinion, where you write it, then you talk it and you go, wait a second, that doesn't really make sense, or that's not landing real well with me. And then I can take that and translate that, say, into a webinar or a presentation. So there's a really cool process that can happen within all of that, but it does depend on what medium you enjoy as well. So if you don't like to write, cool. Just find a different way to get those ideas out of your head.
Awesome. Well, I know we've gone over, and I'm being disrespectful of your time, Rebekah, by allowing us to go this over. I don't want to say I want to be respectful of your
Shame
time.
on you.
It's too late for
Shame.
that.
Shame.
So let everybody know where they can find you, Rebekah.
You bet. Just at RebekahRadice.com. It's the best place. And I am at Rebekah Radice at every single place we talked about. Except Snapchat. Not my thing. You're not going to find me there.
Awesome. That means next time you get to run the show if you've got the fewest followers on Snapchat.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like, I don't even I technically have Snapchat, but I literally don't think I have any followers. So I was like, no, I think I win that battle.
I use it.
I want to thank everybody that has tuned in live. This has been amazing. I know there were some questions that came in towards the end there. We'll hop back in after the fact and over the weekend, and we'll have some dialogue in the show that way. Jen, Amanda, you guys have been a pleasure as always. Stephanie will be back when we all get back in 2 weeks. On the 20th of December, we're going to go live at the same time, same place once more. But this time we're going to be talking about, should you automate social media? Should be a fun topic. Should be a rip-roaring time. And maybe I'll have some more video for everybody.
Now, before we head out, I did want to give a quick heads up to those that are in the 360 Marketing Squad. If you're already in the Facebook group, if you're already a member, we have some incredible training coming up in 2 days. On Sunday, I'm giving a training for our members specifically on 5 targeting tactics that you can use from beginner to advanced for Facebook ads. So 5 targeting tactics from beginner to advanced. It is exclusive training for the 360 Marketing Squad, which is only $5 a month. So that in itself is a no-brainer. Just for that training, plus you get once a month, you get expert training from one of us squad members. So if you are not already a member, go over to 360marketingsquad.com, subscribe, join, and then join me this coming Sunday for this Facebook ads training on targeting tactics.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you all very much, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. See you soon.
Thank you, you guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.